Are you okay with him moving to the head of the class at the Heisman with those two games? Because he wasn't even in the discussion before those two games.
This is a big opportunity for Dylan if he wants to continue to make his case for the Heisman Trophy, and I think he's shown that. What is he, a 6th-year player who's going to probably end up setting most of the passing marks because he's been around for so long? So why not also throw a Heisman Trophy in the mix?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Okay, we've gone through races 4 through 8 for Saturday. So we have all of the early races that are going to be part of the early pick 5. We've done the horse-by-horse previews. We've given you our selections for all of them. Now, before we move into the late part of the card, let's put together a pick 5. So this is like our 5-team parlay that we have, or a 5-prop parlay. We have to have the winner of each of these races. Alexa and Roberto put together a pick 5 for the early races. So Alexa, talk us through this ticket.
Absolutely. So like Gina said, we've already talked about each of these. We did them out of order at first, but now back in order, starting with race 4, the first Breeders' Cup race on Saturday, which is the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, the one we just talked about. And Roberto and I decided to use 4 horses in here, including the number 4, Bava from Cherie DeVaux, who's this very fast, consistent horse. Run this distance 8 times and won 5 of them. And then Society, who personally I think can likely wire the field and just go to the lead. And if we see her best, I think it will top everything in here. Roberto, tell us about the other 2.
Yeah, One Magic Feeling, number 2. She has won three in a row. The last one was without Lasix, which is very important. He's not gonna be able to to use the Lasix for this weekend. And obviously the number 9. I mean, I think she's the filly to be, ways and means. The outside, Shop Brown, Flavian Pratt. I think she's going to be tough.
Absolutely. So 4 horses in that first leg. The next leg, we were slightly more conservative with just 3 horses.
That's the turf sprint, right?
Race 5, the turf sprint. Yep, and we're using the 2, 6, and the 9. So the 2 is Notorious from Phil D'Amato's barn. He was the favorite in last year's edition of this race and disappointed with a 5th place effort, but only 1.5 lengths off of the winner, No Balls. He got caught in traffic and got boxed in.
Can you say that on TV? Oh, that's the name of the horse. That's the name of the horse. Okay, yeah, that was good. Okay.
Yes, he did just lose to No Balls, but that's the breaks. When you're a closer type, especially in these short races, you're likely going to have to deal with traffic. He did win the Green Flash Handicap both this year and last year at Del Mar right here, and he just slays these sprints at Del Mar and looks to be in really good form. So we'll use him. We'll also use the number 6, Star of Mystery from Charles Appleby's barn. This is a filly against the boys, another one who comes from off the pace. The most impressive race to date was this July when she won the Grade 3 quick call at Saratoga with 107. And if she can repeat that effort, I think will be very dangerous.
I think after what I saw at Kentucky Downs regarding Auburn, he's going to be really tough in this race. He averaged 109 Bayer speed figure in the last 3 races. And he's one of the top 3 horses based on the last win in North America with the highest Bayer.
What's been so impressive to me about him too is not only is he so fast, but he doesn't need the lead. He can sit off. But this year he just doesn't even mess around. He's like, I'm just going to go out, run you off your feet, and then finish.
The last time at Kentucky Downs, the track was favoring the closer. So it still won, but by
doesn't matter.
All right, so we're at 3 horses in that one, 2, 6, 9. The third leg of the pick 5 is the race 6 Breeders' Cup Distaff, and we're going skinny in here with just 2 horses. We're using the number 2, Torpedo Anna. I said before on this broadcast that she's my girl. I love her. She's the favorite, 4 to 5. The horse to beat. Her Travers performance against the boys was just a devastating loss, so close by a head to one of the best horses in the country. She's tactical. She can be on the lead. She can sit off. I think the strategy here, because there's not a whole lot of pace in here, I think will be to try to get her out early.
Well, we need a bigger budget for the next time. So, because my top pick is not the top 2, but to please the ladies, all right, I have to include Torpedo Anna, and I'm gonna put Raging Sea on that one because it's like I say, that stuff from Shaq Brown is scaring me. 4 years in a row with 20 different fillies winning at least one stake race. Now I think she's gonna be ready to roll.
When we talk about the ambiance of the Breeders' Cup, is it not what we're dealing with right now? Exactly. The music going.
They turned it up on cue for you.
Yeah, it's like they're listening to me. They're producing this show right now as we go. Keep talking us through the pick 5 ticket here.
All right, so the next one is race 7, the Breeders' Cup Turf. And we're using 3 horses in here, the 3, 6, and the 11. Roberto, tell us about the 3s.
Oh, I told already, this is one of the horses that look fantastic in the mornings here at Del Mar. Shariah, Japanese horse, I think he's going to be a big player in this race. Obviously, Farbridge, I think, like I said,
probably the best of the U.S. horses, right?
He found that mojo, winning, races. It doesn't matter what kind of pace he's gonna get, and also we have to, I say 6 is 11, right?
And the 11.
And 11, number 11, Rebel Romans, Globetrotter.
Yep.
I mean, Charlie Appleby, William Buick. Actually, William Buick was here this morning, working Charlie Appleby horses, so that is very important.
You travel together with that horse. You guys get frequent flyer miles all over the place, I think.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
All right, so 3, 6, 11, and then in the last leg of it, it is Breeders' Cup Classic.
Yep.
Of course, the big one. It's where this one ends and the late Big 5 starts. And we're using 3 horses in this one, the 3, 9, and 14. Roberto, tell us about the first 2.
City of Troy, I have been waiting for this moment, like the song says, all my life. This horse, I think, is not gonna have any problem, running on dirt. City of Troy, to me, he's gonna win the Breeders' Cup Classic. I have to respect Fairness. Like I say, 3 years old, like Sierra Leone. But Fairness, he's had the best scenario of the race. Don't get me wrong. The best post position in the track, how he's gonna play that race. The number 9 is the one who has it.
I think the mic's okay. They're asking if they get a sound over here. I think we can hear them.
Sound check is good.
Okay.
And our next and last horse in this pick ticket is next to the number 14. I added this one in here. I really like the horse. I actually bet this horse on the undercard of the Breeders' Cup 2 years ago in the BCBC, that big betting championship that I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, and he was 5 to 1. And he was my best bet of the weekend that day. And we've never gotten odds like that on him again. He's been the favorite every time, I think. And today we're getting those longer odds. So if you look at the margins that he's beaten other horses by every time, it's been 10 lengths, 22 lengths, 9 lengths, 11 lengths, 25 lengths. I mean, this horse is a rocket. When he goes, he goes. So that is our pick 5 ticket. I believe it costs $108.
Now remember, we have to hit each of these races all the way through. You have to have the winner of race 4 to move on to race 5 to move on to race 6. And as you can see with the ticket they put together, the amount of horses you use in every race, that will make the cost of your ticket a little bit more. if you used one horse all the way down, it would cost you $1. Or if it was 50 cents, just the 50 cents. But every time you add horses, you end up multiplying them all the way through. So
we mentioned like the pick 5s are 5 winners in a row, but if you're,
pick 3, what about pick 3?
Yeah.
3 horses.
I was just gonna say. So
Put $20. That's it.
Yep.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, DRF Online. I put up 2 pick 3s today, one for Friday and Saturday, and those are cheaper tickets, $9 and $24 for those pick 3s. Still similar races, but they don't have as much of a potential for the giant crazy payouts that you have with these big parlay pick tickets, but there's still a great way to make some money on the championships.
The 21st night of September is playing right now. I believe we're in October 30th, though, so we're a little bit off right here, but you can see Berto jamming to some Earth, Wind, and Fire over there. So we're done with the early part of the Saturday Breeders' Cup races. We got the early pick 5 for Saturday in the books. Now we'll move on to the last 4 Breeders' Cup races for Saturday. We'll talk about races 9, 10, 11, and 12, and then we'll get into the late pick 5, how we're going to put that together from races 8 through 12. So we appreciate you hanging with us as we've had some fun. That's what happens when you're doing a live broadcast, right? You never know what's going to go on in the background. We have everybody here with their sound checks. Everybody's getting in because there's live racing on Thursday at Del Mar, and the Breeders' Cup races are on Friday and Saturday. One more time before we go to this commercial break, shop.drf.com. Everything you need there for your Breeders' Cup packages, PPs for Friday and Saturday, Clocker reports for Friday and Saturday. There's also the YouTube Clocker report video that you could check out on our YouTube channel, and then betting strategies for Friday and for Saturday. Everything you need for both days. Quick break. When we return, we'll head into the back part of Breeders' Cup Saturday.
Fixed that hitch. He now shoots it at the top of his jump. His release is really pure. And right now he's shooting it at 49% from 3. Now, I'm not saying he's going to shoot at 49% from 3 for the season. But if he's at 42, 43%, Lord have mercy, look out below. Jason Tatum, right now, my number 6 player in the NBA.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Time to get into race number 9 on the Saturday Breeders' Cup card. This one is the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. So these are for the fillies and mares going 1 3/8 on the turf course. Warlike Goddess probably going to end up favored in here. A horse who's actually been in the Breeders' Cup, different Breeders' Cup races before, was 3rd in this race back in 2021, was 7th, and then 3rd when in the Breeders' Cup Turf. Difference is, this race is a little shorter. So sometimes if they want to get a little more distance, they can go face the boys in the Breeders' Cup Turf, or the fillies and mares come in here for 1 3/8. So let's get started with this one. Alexa, you're going to take the inside horses, right?
I am indeed. The number 1, Beautiful Love, is the first horse in this race. 20-1 morning line, long shot, constantly improving figures every single race, from abroad to here in the U.S. in August. But, small incremental improvements. So I don't see her making like a 15-point improvement, which is what would need to happen, I think, to be competitive in here. The number 2, Full Count Felicia, 12-1 morning line odds. I really like this horse, actually.
Could be sneaky on the front end, right?
I think so. She's definitely a contender after winning the EP Taylor at Woodbine and beating Moira. I was there that day, and she was really just in command of that race. She'll definitely be the pace setter in here, and a race that doesn't have a lot of pace.
I agree.
I was there too, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were both there. We were both there.
Everywhere. I need to hang out with these guys. I was gonna say I'm at my house in Long Beach, just doing that. Yeah.
But no, I mean, when you're the pace setter in a race with not a lot of pace, you have an advantage. The 3 is Cinderella's Dream, 4-1 odds from Charles Appleby's barn. Ran in a grade 2 and grade 1 since coming to the U.S. and won both of them. Comes from off the pace as a closer. I don't think we've seen her ceiling yet, and I could definitely see her being a factor here late in the game. And finally, number 4, Warlike Goddess, that Gino has already mentioned, 5-2 morning line favorite. Strongest closer in the field, likely the one to beat, a 7-year-old mare who got 3rd in this race last at Del Mar in 2021 by half a length, 3rd again in 2022 at Keeneland, 7th in 2023 at Santa Anita. So very familiar with this race. Bill Mott has it really worked out so that her form cycle peaks every year at this race. So I think she's live.
Berto, you're going to go 5-8, right? And I think one of the horses in there was scratched. We saw that Lang Lang, the number 6, is going to be out. So you can talk 5, 7, and 8.
Don't you think it's a kind of low, the morning line on Warlike Goddess?
Yeah.
I mean, I
agree.
She's a great mare.
I agree.
I think it's
especially with the way the race shapes up too.
Yeah.
You know.
I would stay with Didia. I mean, she has won 11 races, and I remember having a conversation with Nacho Correas, her trainer in Keeneland, when he told me that he's trying to send her as soon as possible. She wants her to acclimate to Del Mar, to relax here. And I think she's going to be a really, really
because there's not much speed, like we're saying. So if Full Count, if Felicia goes, she could maybe sit second or just be right there.
She's going to be close to the pace, and she may take the lead.
Yeah.
By the stretch. It's a short stretch.
Yep.
Also, so she has pretty good chances. Content, I mean, it's not the 2024 that we're expecting.
Yep.
But at the same time, you have to respect Frankie Dettori and Aiden O'Brien. And number 8 is Hand Moon. Is the opposite, to Content. She has a great 2024 solid 2024, 3 wins, 4 stars, and she's the trained by Phil D'Amato.
Proven at Del Mar too.
Who proves to be now the king of turf, at least in the West Coast.
It's Chad Brown on the east side, right? And then we got D'Amato out here on the west side.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens.
Yep. So Anisette is a multiple grade 1 winner who's a local horse, a Southern California horse. She was a little disappointing in the John C. Maybe last time out because that was a race where it looked like Anisette and Didia were the top 2, and both of them were a bit disappointing in that race. But the positive is you'll get a better price if you like either one of them in this spot because they weren't as impressive in their most recent race. Moira, who we were talking about, she is a really, really solid mare now. She's 5. She actually was 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf last year. And I think she's just a good fit in this race. I would love to throw her in, pick 4s, pick 5s, and multi-race exotics like that. Beach Bomb, South African runner, Group 1 winner in South Africa. Now will be making the 3rd start in the U.S., but just going to have to improve because she was behind Hang the Moon, and Hang the Moon isn't even probably her biggest worry in this race. She's going to have to face much classier runners. Soprano. Oh no, I'm more of a baritone, or what do we say? Alta. Yeah. Either way, I'm classically trained, Broadway trained, musicals up and down. Soprano, though, as a Group 3 winner, was facing 3-year-old fillies last time. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Did I know that?
Yeah,
Did I know you've done musicals?
I got a lot of secrets.
We're gonna need to see that.
Got a surprise, you see?
Got a lot of secrets here, but she's a 3-year-old. She's going to be facing tougher, older, and she's going to have to deal with going farther. So there's a lot for her to have to overcome. Sunset Glory is kind of like a softer horse who's been running against lesser company, was a stakes winner, but she was actually overmatched in the Grade 2 Rodeo Drive, well behind Hang the Moon last time out. So a big field lining up for the Filly and Mare Turf. It's going to go as race number 9 on Saturday. Let's get over to you, Berto. Talk to us about your selections for this one.
And this one, the Filly and Mare Turf.
Filly and Mare Turf, race number 9.
Filly and Murder, I will stay with Didia. I like Didia. I think she's gonna run big in this race. I'm trying to look for a price on this race with them.
How about you, Alexa?
I like Warlike Goddess on top, and then Full Count Felicia, Moira, and Didia underneath. So I think this could be a really good race for some nice paying exactas and trifectas, which is those first two and first three in order in here. I think we could get some really decent payouts.
Yeah, so I'll put Full Count Felicia on top because when you look at the Timeform US pace projector, when you look at the way the race shapes up, I think both the two, Full Count Felicia and Didia, the 5, are horses you want to use in multi-race exotics because they could get the trip in here. They may not be the classiest or the best of some of these European horses, but they could get the trip in this race on Saturday. The 7, I would use Content underneath in some spots because another one of these horses who has big races to go back to, but as you were pointing out, Berto, not in the best of form right now. Maybe some excuses
What
for that
about
one.
Cinderella's Dream?
Right? What do we do with her?
I think we have to put it in there.
Because she's so lightly raced, as you were pointing out. She continues to ascend. For Appleby and for Buick, she's a horse who may be able to sit a little bit closer in here too, because she's coming out of those mile and 3/16 races instead of the mile and 3/8 race. So she may be able to just be a little more forward.
Race made and William Buick lost the iron and still won by 5 lengths. And then she's 2 for 2 here. So I think we have to include it.
Some questions for Cinderella's Dream as she steps up, faces older, goes a little bit longer here. Race 9 on Saturday is the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. YouTube. I want to mention YouTube because we have Dan Illman on our YouTube channel who does a fantastic job previewing all of the races. They recap races from last month leading you into the Breeders' Cup. So if you need any help with extra information at all, make sure to head to the Daily Racing Forum YouTube channel. And when you subscribe, you'll see faces like this sometimes because we do preview videos quite often. So we see DRF and Espanol and Roberto pop up there. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We still have, I think, 3 more Breeders' Cup races to discuss and then a pick 5. Don't go anywhere.
He will be 2-7 against top 5 opponents in his 6 full seasons with the Buckeyes.
Now you're going to take on the road, one of the best rush defenses in the country in Penn State. You're already having trouble rushing the ball. So what does that mean, Ben? That means Ohio State is going to have to rely on Will Howard to throw the ball on the road. The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Tatum has fixed that hitch. He now shoots it at the top of his jump, his release is really pure. And right now he's shooting it at 49% from 3. Now, I'm not saying he's going to shoot at 49% from 3 for the season. But if he's at 42, 43%, Lord have mercy, look out below. Jason Tatum, right now, my number 6 player in the NBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I tend to do this a lot, by the way. I do it more in baseball with the anytime home run, where I may play 4 players at home. I call it covering the board. You know, if I take 4 players, bet the same amount on each, I only need to hit 2 of them and I win money.
He's already got, 438 rushing yards on the season. He's looking like the old LT days where the Chargers were able to have that strong, dominant running back.
GameTime Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Are you okay with him moving to the head of the class at the Heisman with those 2 games? Because he wasn't even in the discussion before those 2 games.
This is a big opportunity for Dylan if he wants to continue to make his case for the Heisman Trophy, and I think he's shown that. What is he, a 6th-tier player who's going to probably end up setting most of the passing marks because he's been around for so long? So why not also throw a Heisman Trophy in the mix?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We are back, and we're going to move to race number 12. We got the bleeper ready for this one. This is the Big Ass Fans Dirt Mile, the Big Ass Fans Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. It's cool when you can say things like that on places when you're not really supposed to say things like that. I can at least repeat it if it's a sponsor name, So We're going to go horse by horse for the final Breeders' Cup race on Saturday. It's going to go as race number 12. It's the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. And in this one, Alexa, you're going to start us off with Saudi Crown, a horse who was in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year. He actually missed a little time before this race, but he still comes in as a major player.
Yeah, he does. You know, he's coming in from Brad Cox barn, who's winning at 27% right now. Always a strong trainer. 5-1 odds is pretty decent. Has the inside post and strong speed figures that are, you know, trending upwards. So he gets a perfect trip from the rail. I think he's live. The number 2, T.O. St. Dennis, is a horse from Japan at 30-1 odds. Long shot, who will also want a piece of the early pace. Ran going a mile and 16th at Churchill on, I believe, Derby Day, and almost the wire field.
He was freaky good that day,
yeah. Good. He almost wired, but got caught at the end. So maybe this little cutback in distance can help him out. He has only won 2 out of 24 races, so, you know, not super fantastic there. But number 3, Full Serrano, is actually a horse my friend owns, so I'm going to cheer for him. 15-1 odds. Made 2 starts at Del Mar since coming to the U.S. from Argentina. Also going to want to be a part of the early pace as well, I think. Has 2 fast horses to the inside. Sadler, trainer, and Hronis Racing, the owner, have won the Breeders' Cup Classic 2 times with Accelerate and Flightline. So they are powerful connections who know what it takes to win on a day like this.
Well, let's get on over to, or you have one more to talk about, right?
Katona. I can't forget Katona.
Yeah.
Although, honestly, I can't forget Katona because I just think the figures are too light to be competitive here.
This is a big step up. Over to you, Berto.
Three Technique is a horse that been, working very early in the mornings. He won act the last time out. I think it's a little bit of step up in this race. We'll see, how it goes with this one. Since the Gray, this horse is tough. I mean, he is a fighter. He won the Preakness and the last race, the way that he won the PA Derby. He seems lost.
Do you think the rain and the Preakness really made a difference?
It's by Arrogate. Arrogate, he's one of the sire with the highest percentage on wet dirt. Yeah. So that may help. We'll see. Tumba Rumba. This horse, I will use the Spanish word, guapo, that you can apply to 2 different meanings. Guapo could be like handsome, like you, rich, like you.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
Oh, guapo could mean like gutsy.
Tough.
He's a fighter. And
which is also like me. I'm also tough.
All right, Tumba Rumba. With Louis Size, who is one of the riders. He doesn't get tired at all. This horse, 30-1, I think that morning line is way too high on this horse. And post time, Brittany Russell, Sheldon Russell. This horse, I think it's a good horse. He went to the Whitney and then came back to the mile. I don't know if they're trying to figure out if this is the distance or they're taking a shot. Then I think why not?
You could get a really nice setup in here. The 8 post time. Yeah. The 9 domestic product will be one of the horses to beat in here. Grade 1 winner, multiple graded stakes winner, but he will step up and have to face older company. He was a horse who had a really high reputation. He was a good morning horse, good in the workouts, and then he finally put it all together with a couple of big races. Muth was the Arkansas Derby winner earlier in the year. He would have been favored in the Preakness, but he didn't run there. And he had plans to run a few different times, but he had his plans continue to get kind of backed up. And so I'm a little concerned. He confuses me a little bit. I'm not really sure what to do with Muth.
Pretty much every single race that he ran.
Yeah, I know. So
yours.
Yeah. We move to Cagliostro, who's another one, kind of like Tombarumba, who fights, who shows up, but just hasn't been competing with this level of class. So this is a big step up. I got to give a shout out to my son, Mufasa. He loves the Lion King, and he says, Daddy, can you show me the Mufasa race again? Because when Jason Beam called Mufasa winning at Colonial, he said at the end, Mufasa, just like they do in the Lion King. This is a kind of fun wild card to use, at least in some underneath spots. Pipeline feels like a big long shot in here, and then Skippy Longstocking. He's such a cool fighter, and Alexa, I think you like him a little bit in this spot, right?
He's my top selection in here, absolutely. I
so
like him on top.
Go selections for us right now.
Skippy Longstocking over Post Time, over Saudi Crown, over Domestic Product for me.
And then how about for you, Roberto?
Domestic Product, my top pick of Friday and Saturday, and Breeders' Cup number 9. I would include the number 6, Seize the Gray, obviously, and the number 10, Muth, for trifectas or superfectas, and the number 11, Cagliostro, trying to get it some
has fixed that hitch. He now shoots it at the top of his jump. His release is really pure. And right now he's shooting it at 49% from three. Now, I'm not saying he's going to shoot at 49% from three for the season. But if he's at 42, 43%, Lord have mercy, look out below. Jason Tatum, right now, my number 6 player in the NBA.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can. As possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We are ready to rock and roll for the Breeders' Cup Mile. And Breeders' Cup Mile is going to go as race number 11. So we have the dirt mile that we just talked about. That was race number 12. The mile on the turf is going to go as race number 11. And I think Berto's going to talk about the runners 5 through 8. You're going to finish up with 9 through 12. I'll start us out with the horse that I actually like quite a bit in here, Ramatuel. This is a horse who was racing against Porta Fortuna, but she doesn't have as much early speed as Porta Fortuna does. And so in those races, she actually doesn't really have the type of advantage. I think there could be a good amount of speed to set it up for a horse off the pace a little bit, like this one, who was a Group 1 winner last time out, beating Kinross over at Longchamp. And that was the first start since June. So now second start back, saving ground inside, could get a really nice trip. Chili Flag, ton of respect for this horse, who's had a very good year. Always comes running, kind of like a Rodney Dangerfield horse, because gets no respect. This horse doesn't ever get any respect, never gets bet at the windows, but always shows up, always gives a really good account of herself. Geoglyph, for the last 12, the Japanese runner, but the Grade 1 Japanese 2000 Guineas winner from earlier on in the career, so we know they can jump up with a big effort. Diego Velasquez is in really nice form for those top-notch connections. This is another one for Aidan O'Brien, for Ryan Moore, and Diego Velasquez has won back-to-back group stakes there. So there's the first 4 in here. We'll go over to Roberto.
Goliath, who won Kentucky Downs mid-million wire with 1-on-1 Bayer speed figure.
So fast.
I don't know if he's going to be that fast this time or he needs to go faster, and that may
too much. It may have to do too much.
He's going to play against it. So we'll see. Notable speech. I was talking to, about William Buick and Charlie Appleby. William Buick was working this horse this morning here at Del Mar. So this is a really neat horse. 105, seven time out. I think it's going to be good. And Porta Fortuna, I've been following this filly for a very long time. I remember she lost last year, Santa Anita. Yep. After that, 3 great Group 1 winners. Remember, in Europe, it's Group 1, winners in a row. And I think she's going to be one of the favorites. She's 4-1. She probably and 3-1. Yep. Well, I love her on this race, this number 7. And then More Than Luke, I really don't understand the 20-1.
No way. More like 12, right? This is a horse who feels like that kind of a price.
No way. This horse has to be 20-1.
Yeah.
This horse was flying twice against everything behind Karspackler, and now he come to the 3rd race of the cycle, which is one of my favorite angles. I think he's going to be in the mix too in this number 8.
It's More Than Looks, who, yeah, we all agree is a little too high up on the board. Alexa, finish this up. Talk about runners 9 through 11 in here.
Yep, absolutely. So 9 is Johannes with Umberto Raspolia board, 4.5 to 1, or plus 450 odds for our sports bettors out there. Has 4 straight wins and has won 7 out of 8 most recent races. He's a Del Mar specialist who's in peak form, so definitely could be dangerous in here. The 10 win for the money for Mark Cassie's barn, 30 to 1 morning line odds. Coming off a win in the grade 1 Woodbine Mile. His speed figures are definitely at the peak, but he hasn't ever faced this level of competition, and I do think this class jump will pose some serious challenges for him. The 11-10 Happy Rose is a Japanese horse, 30 to 1 morning line odds.
So when she won the Victoria Mile, Roberto told me he bet her that day at 207 to 1. No.
I was like,
207 to 1. That's
I would have told you.
That's one of the bigger prices you're going to see on a winner.
Well, I don't know if we're going to see it again this time, though. I don't think it's going to measure up to this level, but the field does round out with the number 12, Carl Spackler from Chad Brown's barn, 6 to 1 morning line odds. I like this horse quite a bit. Has won 7 out of 10 lifetime starts, 4 out of his last 5. Has a rising form. You know, Chad is just a powerhouse trainer for sure. I think this horse in here is the best combination of both form and connections in the race.
And he has gotten so good. I'm just a little worried about the post, right?
And remember, E5 Thoroughbred, they are 3-for-3 in Breeders' Cup.
The odds of that,
they run 3 times and they won all of them.
The odds of that are unbelievable.
I don't worry about the post as much on these longer races.
And
it doesn't bother me.
He's got the tactical speed from the outside. He's a little versatile.
I'm afraid that maybe Tyler is going to have to use it a little
too much from out there.
But I mean, that's my baby right there.
So let's get to selections for this race.
We know who he's picking.
No, I have to pick Porta Fortuna. I'm going to pick Porta Fortuna. Carl Spackler, obviously you have to respect, the number 6. I think it's a horse that you have to include it. Notable speech. I don't know if it's a typo, but I like More Than Looks better than Johannes. Consider Johannes is a really good horse, but I prefer to go with More Than Looks. But my top pick is Porta Fortuna.
More Than Looks, the late running closer who's going to come at the back of the pack. You've got Johannes, who's really, really sharp. Alexa, talk to us about who you have in this race.
Yeah, I've got the 7 on top, Portofino, followed by Carl Spackler, Johannes, and Diego Velasquez.
So I mentioned the 1, Ramatuel, who I think should be able to get a little bit better of a trip. That's why this race is so tough. This is such a classy individual because she's sort of forgotten about because she's not as highly regarded, right, as Porta Fortuna or maybe as notable speech.
100% the money.
But she's
nice time start.
It may for her have been just more of a running style thing, right? She just may have not gotten the trip and the setups in some of those races, and I wouldn't be shocked if she actually floated up a little bit.
And you got Diego Velasquez, Adrian O'Brien, and Ryan Moore.
I mean, you go through this Breeders' Cup Mile field. It is so good.
Click the all bottom, please. That's it.
You want to make sure that you have a lot of coverage in this race when you're playing the multi-race exotics here. So this will be race 11 of 12 races. When we return from our break in just a minute, we have one more race to discuss. We're going to get into the Breeders' Cup Sprint, which is the dirt sprint. So we haven't gotten to the sprint yet, and we actually will be able to get a pick 5 together from the late races for both of you guys as well. So we got the early pick 5 from Saturday. We'll have a late pick 5 from Saturday. It's just the 3 of us as they play. Yeah. Just the 2 of us right behind us right now. So Ramatuel 1, 8, 9, 6 for me. Wanted to ask you guys a couple questions about a few horses that we only briefly touched on. So Johannes. This is a horse who is one of those horses who has such a high ceiling. Normally, I always think that in grass distance races, the Europeans are usually the best. But a horse like Johannes, he actually could be as good as some of these European runners.
His current form, I think, is even the same or even better, I will say, than European. And also, if you want a picture or a horse, this is the perfect example. It's beautiful. Johannes. I mean, his conformation is simply perfect.
And shout out to Lucia. We got to give Lucia some love. She does so much work behind the scenes. She's been out here getting video of horses in the morning, and she got some video of Johannes, and we'll be posting those to the DRF social media accounts, and we'll also be posting them to the YouTube channel as well. So of the Europeans, you went through your selections. Like, which of them do you prefer, or how are you going to play them on a ticket? Like, are you only going to use some of the horses that you mentioned, or are there others in here that you like that you might be including?
Yes, maybe
Notable speech, Porta Fortuna.
Porta Fortuna, I mean, is my top pick. So, I mean, that's a given.
And what kind of trip are you hoping for with her? You want her to be kind of close, but not necessarily on the lead.
Close, but not as the last year. She was, I think she was like a kind of close to the rail. I prefer now her to be in the middle, to the outside.
She was only about 2 lengths out of it. So there is a Breeders' Cup Mile. When we return, Breeders' Cup Sprint. We'll finish it up.
It's a new era in CFP to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards.
That was
Lincoln!
But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst player screen I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. So here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
They lost in Neyland to Tennessee, 24-17. Again, and look, that puts Alabama in a very tough spot. I was looking at the SEC standings just before. They've got 2 losses now in conference because they lost that Vandy game.
They're still one of the top-ranked teams in the country when they lose. Everyone else drops like a brick when they lose, except for Alabama.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us here, folks. Our 3-hour journey, our marathon, is coming close to an end. We have one more race to preview, and then we'll put the finishing touches on it with the pick 5. So we are going to be seeing some really fast horses right here. Yep. This is the Breeders' Cup Sprint, which is going to go as race number 10. And as expected, Roberto, in a race like this, there's a lot of speed, a lot of fast horses.
And we start with speed.
One of them, right?
Number 1, Ray Torren. This horse is won 3 in a row with higher, better speed figure, 104 twice. You know, speed from the rail. Yep. That's it.
Yep.
Number 2, Gun Pilot. This one has good lay speed. And the only thing is, as Steven Asmussen combined with Christian Torres in the last 3 months, they do 5%. They have won 3-4-40, something like that. I mean, he has been terrible. So it is time for, to step up and try to do something. Federal Judge, I love this horse, number 3. It's not because Aaron Judge. It's because it's Federal Judge. It's because it's Ira Ortiz Jr., Brad Cox. And it seems interesting to me that this horse was trained by Rodolphe Brissett, who also have Milliken for the same owners. Windstar Farm, Sienna Farm. We'll see what something is going to happen with these 2 horses. It's going to be interesting. Nakatomi number 4 ran fantastic last time at Keeneland, considering no horse was closing that weekend. And he was able to close behind Federal Judge, but against pretty much everything. Now he's going to get the pace. He's going to be closer. And I think he's a horse that you have to, look out for him.
I think you have, are you the next? Or I'm going 5 through 8, right? I'm distracted because I'm singing like in the loving you whether times are good or bad or happy or sad. Let's get into the number 5 in here. So Don Frankie is one of.
Did you hear that? He just said the body weight of Don Frankie is 1,500 pounds.
Yes.
Wow.
He's a monster.
He's a monster horse.
I think all of the Japanese runners in here are pretty live because they may get the trip. Like horses like Don Frankie could be sitting, and we've seen this horse on the dirt against top level company. This horse was second in the Golden Shaheen a little earlier on this year. Ben Tornado, who I respect quite a bit, is a grade 2 winner, but this is way tougher than what he's been facing, and he has to face older and a lot of other early speed in here. So that concerns me a bit. Metamax is another one that could get a nice setup from off the pace. I'm looking for some of those off the pace horses because of the presence of horses like Straight No Chaser, the 8, who can flat fly. We know that the 1, Raging Torrent, is fast. We know that Federal Judge is fast. We know that Ben Tornado is fast. You put all those horses together, they are going to be moving. And we didn't even mention 2 of the horses that you're going to mention towards the outside who are really
Everybody's fast. Everybody's fast in here. But the number 9 Remake is another Japanese horse. Beat Skelly 3 back, but lost to Don Frankie and Nakatomi 2 back in the Golden Shaheen. He's a superstar in Japan, but whenever he's stepped up to face Group 1 company, he can't quite pull it off, and has just recently lost to stronger players in here, so not going to be on any of my tickets. But the number 10 is a different story. Mulligan, 7-2 odds. Flavian Pratt will be aboard. Like most in here who will want the lead, but also has proven to be able to handle rating in the past. So I think likely he can sit off of Skelly and Straight No Tracer, and try to pass him in the later stages. He's been doing that lately, going 7 furlongs, so I like his odds of not conceding and tiring here in this.
Sit on the cutback, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
You think he's going to be able to take the lead from that post?
I think he can rate a little bit because I think he's rated before and can handle it. But, he's had those 4 straight wins, including the grade 1 Forgo. And I just think he seems more tactical than a lot of the other speedsters in here. And
they're kind of one-dimensional.
Yeah, and in a race like this where there's so much pace, being a tactical horse is going to mean a lot. And then finally, the far outside, number 11, Skelly for Steven Asmussen, 8-1 morning line odds. I like this one quite a bit as well. I think either he or the number 8, Straight No Chaser, will grab the lead. I like him on the outside, considering how much time they do have before the turn to get in that leading position. He'll have a lot of his pace to the inside, which is better than having it to your outside in a race like this. And out of everybody in here, I do think he has the best chance to wire the field. I would expect him to be in the top 3, even if he were to get caught at the end. I'd still expect him to hit the board.
So we went through each horse in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Let's get to selections for race number 10. We'll start with you, Roberto. Who do you have on top here?
Looking for a very long shot here. Ben Tornado.
Nice.
Number 6.
Okay.
They're 80-1.
I saw that on the pick ticket.
Love it.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Big pricing.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to be on the lead.
You want him to sit. And he has shown he can sit a little bit.
I don't think he's going to be on the lead. I think he's going to be sending 4th, 5th, and probably try to take the lead when they turn for home.
These are the kinds of conversations that everybody has, too, when you're sitting around with your friends, talking a little trash about what's the horse going to do, right? I've got this one. No, you're going to be wrong. And what's great in racing and in sports,
I think
we always will find out, right?
Their connection, his connection, we're looking for a really good post position, and I think they get it. So that now continue.
Gives them some options. Exactly. They have some options there.
I have to include Nakatomi. I think it is what it is. He's the one that he's probably going to end as the favorite.
Get a great trip. Should come closing in here. There's a lot of speed to run at. Let's hand it over to you, Alexa.
Yeah, I have Mulligan on top. I just really think with the tactical speed that he has and the ability to sit off a little bit will be really valuable in here. And then Skelly after that. I love the 8-1 odds on Skelly, and then Nakatomi as well and Federal Judge.
So I'm going to put the 9 Remake on top. And we keep talking about the Japanese horses, how they've come over with so many live horses. And to me, it's horses like this that makes sense because Remake has faced top company on the dirt. He's a legitimate dirt sprinter. He was in the Riyadh Dirt Sprint, finishing behind Elite Power and Gunite last year when he was third. Then he won the Korea Sprint. He was in the Golden Shaheen at Maidan and was only beaten a length that day. And then he came back this year and was in the Korea Sprint. He won recently after a little bit of a disappointing performance in the Golden Shaheen, but he had time off and he came off the bench and got that prep race out of the way. So I think he was able to shake off any rust there.
People favor. Look at his odds in the last 5 races.
He's just been freaky good. And he beat a horse named Anarchist, who's actually a U.S.-based sprinter. That is a graded stakes horse that would have been a long shot in here, but is actually a really nice horse. So I put the 9 on top of the 10. Mulligan, the 3 Federal Judge, who's really fast. And then Don Frankie's another fun horse from Japan that could get a really nice trip. So we got you finished with each of our race previews, all 14 of them. But we're not done yet. We're going to put a big bow on everything in our final segment. We're going to go through the late pick 5 sequence for Saturday. Roberto and Alexa have put together a pick 5 ticket that's going to start with the Breeders' Cup Classic, race number 8, and it'll go races 8 through 12. So when we return from this quick break, we'll get you all set up. We'll say goodbye. We'll remind you where you can get all of the DRF Breeders' Cup information, but don't go anywhere. The important final segment coming up next. We'll talk pick 5 in just a moment.
When you talk about how these series came to a head and what has been happening in this postseason for the Yanks, offensively, it hasn't been Aaron Judge.
Baseball is such a big win here. All you ask for, East Coast Monster City, West Coast Monster City, the biggest of biggest Titan superstars on both sides here, 2 mammoth fan bases. The entire country can buy into this one.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst flare screen I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. So here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like this that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I tend to do this a lot, by the way. I do it more in baseball with the anytime home run, where I may play 4 players at home. I call it covering the board. You know, if I take 4 players, bet the same amount on each, I only need to hit 2 of them and I win money.
He's already got, 438 rushing yards on the season. He's looking like the old LT days where the Chargers were able to have that strong, dominant running back.
GameTime Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
They lost in Neyland to Tennessee, 24-17. Again, and look, that puts Alabama in a very tough spot. I was looking at the SEC standings just before. They've got 2 losses now in conference because they lost that Vandy game.
They're still one of the top-ranked teams in the country when they lose. Everyone else drops like a brick when they lose, except for Alabama.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
So this is the late pick 5 that will start with the Breeders' Cup Classic. That's going to start in race number 8 on Saturday. It will end with the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile race 12. So races 8 through 12. Alexa and Roberto put the tickets together. And you see what I did? I make them put the tickets together. That way, if they don't hit, nobody blames me. It's just all them.
Oh, great.
But you know what?
Hey, when they win,
they get all the credit. So
That's
I will
right.
say, it goes both ways. And you know what? I want to give you guys both a lot of credit because you've done a fantastic job over these last few hours. So go ahead, Alexa, set us all up.
All right, well, it starts, again, like we said, with the Breeders' Cup Classic, and we've gone over this race twice, so we're not going to deep dive it again, but we have the 3 City of Troy, the 9 Fierceness, and the 14 Next as our picks. And the second leg is race 9, the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. We have 3 in here. We're going to go with the number 2, Full Count Felicia, 12-1 odds, so get a little bit of a price in here. Contender after winning that EP Taylor at Woodbine and beating Moira. Like, we were both there that day. He was wearing the same shirt that day. But, this is a good setup for her in this race with being the pace setter in here without a lot of pace. And then Warlike Goddess as well, strongest closer in the field, likely the one to beat, 7-year-old mare who's run in this race multiple times, I think 3 years now, and Bill Mott just knows how to have her in peak form.
Yeah, I think we have the 3 also in this one.
The 3 as well.
All right, Cinderella's Dream. You know, between her and Didia, I decided to put this one because I mean it's Charlie Appleby. His numbers speak for themselves, and I think she's gonna run great. So.
Yeah. The third leg of the pick 5 is a race 10 Breeders' Cup Sprint. We're using 3 in here: the 6, 10, and 11. Roberto, tell us about the first 2.
The first 6 and the 10. My long shot.
Your long shot.
Ben Tornado.
I looked at when he sent me his picks. I was like, really? We're gonna? But you know what? I will never talk someone off of a
big
30
price,
to 1.
right?
Never.
I remember when I say the same thing about Carabel, and people react the same way. And look at what happened with Carabel. So maybe this will be my this year Carabel.
I'll talk you off a favorite, but never off a horse like that.
No, never.
I'll pick I was going to say, I'll pick at you if you're like going to eat the chalk and it's going to be a short price.
Exactly.
But a big price, you always take that swing, my friend.
And I think in Mulligan, you have to include it. I mean, he's the year the Flavian Pride he's having, I think he can close his Eclipse Award this weekend.
He's an up-and-coming sprinter, too, and I think, as you pointed out, of all the speed horses, he's the most likely that could sit off the pace because he's drawn to the outside, too, so that could really help him.
Yep. We'll also use number 11, Skelly, 8 to 1 odds. Probably will be the leaders on the outside post with all that pace to the inside. Not a bad spot to be.
As you're talking, they're playing Isn't She Lovely?
I am lovely. Thank you.
They're playing it for you.
Oh,
that's amazing.
That's so nice of you. All right. Well, hopefully we're lovely enough to win this pick 5. Race 11 is the Breeders' Cup Mile. We're using 2 in here, the 7 and the 12. Recap the 7 for us.
Fora Fortuna, 3 great Group 1 in a row, and I think she's gonna be huge. She's gonna run huge this Saturday. Fora Fortuna, remember, my top pick on this race.
His girl, loves it. And then Carl Spackler, the number 12, is the other one in here from Chad Brown, who's a powerhouse. I said earlier, I think the best combination of both form and connections in this race, has won 70% of her lifetime starts and has a rising form. And finally, race 12, the last race, wrapping up a Breeders' Cup Saturday, is the Dirt Mile. And we're going to use 4 in here, spread out a little bit. The 1, 8, 9, and 14. Roberto, tell us about the 1 and the 9.
Saudi Crown, I think he recovers in the last race. He shows that, and I think he deserves the chance. It's for Rangeroo, it is practice, and the number 9, like I say, this is the horse that I like the most the whole weekend. Domestic Brother, the way that he looks, how he has been running post position. He has experience in 4 turns. Remember the mile Hill Del Mar. They need 2 turns, So I think it's everything fit for him.
Yep, and the last 2 on the ticket are the number 8 post-time trainer Brittany Russell. Her husband Sheldon Russell will be riding, so it's a family affair. A versatile horse, 9 for 13 in his life, a value play with some proven consistency. And then number 14, Skippy Longstocking, 4 to 1 odds, 7 wins at graded stakes level with tactical speed and an improving pattern. So that is the late pick 5 on Breeders' Cup.
And that is going to do it for us here. We really appreciate all of you hanging out with us, and we hope we led you in the right direction a few times throughout Friday and Saturday. A couple thank yous to give out first. Our producers, Mike and Rich, they were doing an incredible job over here with a lot of different variables happening. We're live. We're on track. Awesome job from them. Audrey, the PA, helping us out. Thank you so much. Tyler and Will, who jumped on earlier with us, and Roberto and Alexa. Appreciate all the hard work that you did.
And Eugenio for leading the way here.
Thank you. Remember, folks, shop.drf.com. That's the place to go. You can get those Breeders' Cup packages, and we also have the free Timeform US cards for all those SportsGrid viewers out there. Use that promo code SGTF24. Good luck in the Breeders' Cup.
Versus the book.
That was Aaron Rodgers, your quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the book.
And now you have to qualify in these majors. You got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage Late
This sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on sports.
All right, welcome in and a very happy Wednesday to you now. The final Wednesday of October here as we look to close out the month. Game Time Decisions, the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you stopping by as we continue with the equinox of sports going on here as Game 5 of the World Series getting ready to take center stage here in just a little over an hour. The Bronx, New York, as the Yankees will look to stave off elimination one more time here and get the World Series back to Los Angeles. And they certainly have the guy they want on the mound tonight in Garrett Cole, as the Dodgers will send out Mr. Flaherty, Jack Flaherty, to the mound. We just saw this game, a rematch of Game 1, and both guys, quite honestly, in last Friday's game, were phenomenal. It was a 0-0 game, mind you, through 4 innings before the Dodgers scored in the bottom of the 5th. The Yankees turned around and got a Giancarlo Stanton home run in the 6th, and that, of course, ended Flaherty's night. But eventually LA got the last laugh as Freddie Freeman with a walk-off grand slam in the 10th. And boy, you think about what could have been for the Yankees at this point. This could very well be a 2-2 series right now if it weren't for a couple of mistakes here by the Yankees and Boone or whoever you want to blame. But the reality is they're down 3-1, still got to win 4 games. They got a pretty good opportunity with Garrett Cole, who, again, only threw 88 pitches in that start on Friday. And Aaron Boone, and a lot of people, they weren't happy with him, thought maybe he pulled Cole a little bit early after 88 pitches, but 6+ strong innings for Garrett Cole. And, hey, you need your bullpen to be able to hold down. You also need, Soto to be able to, play some defense in right field every now and then. That would be great. But Cole had given up in that 6th inning there 3 of the 5 hardest hit balls that he gave up all day. So it did appear as if he was starting to slow down a little bit there. And don't forget, this is a ton of innings that not only Flaherty, but Cole was injured most of the season. He is throwing harder now than he threw in the early part of the season when he eventually came back. But ultimately, I would expect a guy like Garrett Cole to come out here tonight and leave everything out on the field. And he looked really good early in that game, which is why I don't have a problem looking at this first 5 under at 4.5. And I'll tell you this, take away Freddie Freeman's home runs and hits, and it's not like the Dodgers are ripping the Yankees pitching staff here. I mean, I don't think they've scored more than 4 runs in a game here. And again, Freeman has done most of the damage for the Dodgers. So he's not getting an awful lot of help from anybody else in this lineup. And 5 hits a game is not going to cut it. I don't think these two teams are that far apart. And of course, anytime you have a situation in which it's a closeout game, and you know what they say in professional sports, actually all of sports, the hardest game to win is the clinching game. Just ask the Florida Panthers not too long ago, who were up 3-0 on the Edmonton Oilers. How did that work out? Well, it ended up losing 1 game at a time till all of a sudden it came down to a Game 7, and then it can be anybody's game. But the Dodgers seem to be very happy with the ability to not use any closers, keep their bullpen rested, which they are, which means that Jack Flaherty will probably have less of a leash than what Garrett Cole is, because the Yankees bullpen has had to get, taxed, shall we say. That bullpen has gotten a ton of use over the last couple of games here in order to stave off elimination and keep their season alive. But I don't think any of that is going to matter. I think the Yankees, Garrett Cole, certainly if you're looking for a couple of prop bets here tonight, I do think they're going to expect Cole to go a little bit longer. He will not be taken out after 88 pitches here tonight in any way, shape, or form. But that bullpen there, when you look at some of the guys that have been used, they have been used a lot, that being the Yankees bullpen. I mean, Warren last night had to go a ton. Clay Holmes has had to pitch a ton here. Hill has had to come in and pitch a lot. So the bullpen of the Yankees is going to be a little bit taxed. I think they're going to give Garrett Cole more of a leash tonight than what we certainly saw in Game 1 on Friday. His out prop, I believe, somewhere around the 16.5 mark, somewhere in that ballpark there. I do think he will go as long as he can tonight, and I do believe a guy like Garrett Cole will leave it all out there. So I don't mind expecting more from him. I expect less from Flaherty, who, by the way, last time he was in New York, gave up 8 runs at Citi Field, if you recall, and not good. I mean, he has allowed 5 or more in, 3 of his 4 playoff starts with just 14 strikeouts in a little over, 20 2/3 playoff innings. His velocity has decreased. He was great in Game 1, but the Yankees certainly helped him a lot with 19 swings and misses in that game, and a lot of that stuff was out of the zone. It does look like the Yankees last night finally figured it out at the plate, took a ton of pitches, took some walks, and finally started to make contact with some of the pitches that were left out over the plate. Freddie Freeman's been doing it for the Dodgers all series long. Can he continue to do that? If I'm the Yankees, I'm making sure the one guy who does not beat me again is Freddie Freeman here tonight. So Flaherty under his out props here tonight for me. Certainly like Cole to go up and over. And I do like the Yankees and the first 5 under in this game. So a lot of different ways to look at it. Bottom line, if you're the Dodgers and you have to use that rested bullpen a lot in this game, and I would imagine the Dodgers are willing to push the envelope in trying to get this thing done and won here in New York, as opposed to having to get back to Chez Ravine and play a Game 6. Well, if they're going to deploy those guys in the bullpen, they're high leverage guys, and they don't win this game, Well, then it's going to be advantage Yankees heading into Game 6 because that rested bullpen won't be so rested anymore. So all of it doesn't matter unless you get it done. Will this be the final Major League Baseball game of the season? Or will we at least get one more game? Should be a lot of fun. Nothing like urgency in professional sports, and especially when it comes to the World Series. Dodgers-Yankees, Game 5 coming up in an hour. We'll have much more on this. We have a loaded slate and major NBA action, rather, here tonight. We have only a couple of games last night, but tonight we've got a big slate here. In fact, most already underway here. We've got a bunch that tipped off here at 7 o'clock Eastern time. We got a couple of more, including the Miami Heat and New York Knicks, which I think is an interesting one. We'll talk more about that game, and we've got plenty of college football and NFL to go over. We're just getting started. A special 1-hour edition of Game Time Decisions continues here on the Grid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on this final Wednesday of October as we get ready. Will it or will it not be the final game of the Major League Baseball season? Are the Dodgers going to be crowned champions, or are we heading back for a Game 6 to L.A.? And boy, I'm all for more baseball here between these two teams. Adam Kaufman stepping in, joining us here tonight. Adam, how about you, though? Are you done with baseball, or would you like a couple of more games? You got to love the whole urgency, though, with backs against the wall for everybody here. That's kind of what we wait for all year long, isn't it? After 162 game regular season.
Well, listen, Joe, I'm a Red Sox fan. I've been done with baseball for months. But if I'm putting that aside and we're just looking at the playoffs, obviously, and focusing in on this World Series, this is honestly, like, this is not the point of this segment, I realize. But you have to understand, this World Series matchup is like a Boston fan's worst nightmare. There's no interest in watching Mookie Betts and the Dodgers and buying a championship and trying to get that done all over again and get him yet another ring, not with the Red Sox versus the Yankees, the mortal enemies, achieving any level of greatness. But yeah, there's some schadenfreude to it, I suppose, if the Yankees wind up losing, because it would still mean the extension of this World Series drought that has lasted for a decade and a half. As far as urgency, I mean, clearly there's urgency for New York. And, I did expect the Yankees to win last night. That being said, I thought the Yankees were going to win game 3. I didn't think the way that they lost those couple of games in LA, they were going to come back home and fall in game 3. I thought they'd make it a series right out of the chute. Now they're trying to, obviously achieve something that has never been done before in baseball history, which is come back from down 0-3 in the World Series. And it's not going to happen. Nobody believes it's going to happen. I can't imagine anybody in that clubhouse, if you hooked them up to a polygraph, actually thinks they're going to come back and win this series. The Dodgers are just so dramatically the better team, the more talented team, the healthier team, call it what you will. I think they're going to get the job done ultimately. That said, I do think we're going back to LA. I don't think it ends tonight. I think the Yankees have an advantage in the pitching matchup. There's going to be an air of desperation, obviously, on the part of Garrett Cole, who overall has pitched well in the postseason. And on the other side, Jack Flaherty, he's honestly, I mean, look, to say he's not good would be kind, obviously. He's coming off a good game against the Yankees, but you have to look, too, and consider the fact that throughout these playoffs, and this actually goes back to his final start of the regular season when he faced the Padres, anytime he sees a team back-to-back, the second time, it just goes much worse. He faced the Padres in his final regular season start. It was fine. It was comparable, a little bit worse in that first series meeting with them. And then against the Mets, he was brilliant against the Mets the first time he saw them in that 9-0 win. 7 innings, didn't allow any runs, but then the next time out, absolutely gets shelled. 3 innings, allows 8. So, we saw him pitch well against the Yankees last time, went 5+, only allowed a couple runs. I don't think it's going to go as well tonight. If you're not as comfortable with the Yankees money line, which is how I invested, though, maybe you want to consider the Yankees team total over, because I think there are going to be runs much like there were last night.
Yeah, it's interesting, though, because I find it fascinating the way the Dodgers punted on the game last night. And, you keep holding back these relievers, and that's all fine and dandy. But, if I was the Dodgers, I would have, when that game was 5-4, I'm trying everything in my power to make sure this thing doesn't go to another game. I don't want to give this team life at all. But I do believe they're going to need Cole to go more than 88 pitches tonight. I think Flaherty will have a very short leash, to your point. So I don't mind his under outs prop. I don't mind Cole's over outs prop. The hardest one to win, they say, is always the closing one, right? I don't think this is going to be a walk in a park or a blowout one way or another. It still feels like this is going to be a one-run game, no?
I don't know about a one-run game, but I agree with you. It's not going to look anything like last night, where it truly is, the Yankees or whoever wins blowing doors. I don't expect that again. I mean, that game 3, I realized the final score was close. It was 4-2. That said, those 2 runs came on a 2-run homer with 2 outs in the 9th. It was basically a lopsided game the entire way through. The Dodgers were fully in command, and the Yankees, similarly, it went back and forth for a little while the first half of the game, and then they opened it up and exploded and never looked back. And I just think that, tonight, I think it's going to stay close for a while. I think it'll probably stay low scoring for a little while as well. And then once you get into those middle innings, so maybe consider a first 5 under, for instance. But once you get into those middle innings and you do probably get those starters out and you get to the bullpens, that's when I think things could potentially go a little haywire.
All right, so are we getting, or we've gotten them, it feels like in every game, right? So we getting home runs tonight? Is there anybody we should be looking? I mean, does Freeman hit another one? Are you even letting him beat you again here, Adam, at this point? It seems kind of ridiculous, does it not?
Well, I guess it comes down to how you define that question, right? Because it is ridiculous. He has homered now in his last 5 World Series games, dating back to the last time that he was in the Fall Classic, and obviously the first 4 games of this series. So, yeah, I mean, dude is on a tear. Like, I can't believe he hasn't been drug tested yet. It's unbelievable what he is doing right now. But when you say, like, are they even going to let him? I mean, obviously, if there are runners on base, they're going to attempt to pitch around him. But if he's, leading off and he's right there to start the game, are you going to want to put a runner on right away? So they're going to pitch to him probably carefully, not give him great pitches to hit, not give him a meatball right down the middle of the plate. But that being said, you still want to get the guy out. You just got to do your best, do your damnedest to not give him something that he can launch. Thing is, he is just so in the zone right now. I do think there are going to be homers. I'd be hard-pressed to bet Freeman to do it again. Feels like you're just sort of setting yourself up for failure, but I probably would have said the same thing to you 24 hours ago, and look what he did the very first time he came up to bat, and you could have cashed that at plus 625 or whatever it was.
Yep.
So I don't know. Maybe it's worth a little pizza money, right?
Yeah, I mean, almost 5-1 now, but I mean, you got Soto at plus 390, Judge at plus 230. You might as well save your money. We'll be lucky if he makes it out of the infield at this particular point. But I do think the home run market is going to be interesting here tonight. We've got some NBA games on tap. We'll talk about those next here on Game Time Decision.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was Lincoln! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst flare screen I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. See, here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like this that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
They lost in Neyland to Tennessee, 24-17. Again, and look, that puts Alabama in a very tough spot. I was looking at the SEC standings just before. They've got 2 losses now in conference because they lost that Vandy game.
They're still one of the top-ranked teams in the country when they lose. Everyone else drops like a brick when they lose, except for Alabama.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Oh, Game Time Decisions. Welcome back here on this final Wednesday of October. And boy, November can't get here fast enough. But we also have, in addition to Game 5 of the World Series tonight in the Bronx, we do have NBA action already off and running here. And Adam, interesting couple of games here that are getting ready to start. The Celtics taking on the Pacers here tonight. Also, the Knicks are down in my neck of the woods, taking on the Miami Heat. How you looking at those 2 games here tonight?
Well, so the Celtics and Pacers got underway. They were about halfway through the opening quarter. Indiana's up 18-13. So that one is not going in my direction right now. That being said, it's very, very early. I'm on the Celtics to cover. And look, this sort of already, now obviously I'm here, I'm hanging out with you, so I don't have the game on in front of me, but sort of reminds me a little bit about what we saw with the Celtics last time out against the Bucks, where they were heavy favorites, and in fact, heavier favorites in that one. It was, 8, 9, 10-point favorites almost. And in that game, they're actually down at halftime. And then, because I took them to cover in the first half, they didn't. They're trailing at halftime, never mind not covering. They come back and they cover and they win going away. They put it together in the third quarter and beyond and took care of business against Giannis, Dame, and the rest of the crew there, the rest of the contending hopefuls in the Eastern Conference. I think this game going to be probably pretty similar. I mean, hopefully they're not down at the break, but I think that these two teams we saw in the playoffs, obviously, they match up well. Now, Indiana was not fully healthy. Tyrese Halliburton is a big difference maker who is certainly available for this one. But Celtics, we know how they're going to play at this point in time. They're going to go out. They're going to take 45 three-pointers. If they hit 40% of them, they're going to win easily. If they hit 35% of them, maybe the game would be a little bit closer. Pacers are going to try to, pun intended, slow down the pace a little bit as best they can. But the Celtics, they've just got too many weapons, Joe. And if you're going to give me the C's to cover, even on the road, not on a back-to-back, they played 2 days ago against a team that is their inferior, as every other team for that matter is in the NBA right now. And you're giving me, again, a 6.5 line with a healthy team. Everyone's available other than obviously Porzingis, who may not play until Christmas. Yeah, I'm going to put my faith in a team that's blowing doors, covering like crazy, and shooting the lights out of gyms right now.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to go against them. That's for sure. I do find the Knicks interesting, though, because it's a lot of new pieces. They got some injuries. Hart doesn't look like he's in again. I don't like the depth. I think they sacrificed depth to get Cat there, and that's an iffy proposition. I do, however, know what we're going to get from the Miami Heat tonight. How did you approach this game? Is the Heat are a dog at home?
Yeah, I do think the Knicks are going to win. Obviously, it's a very short spread, but ultimately what I did was I'm on some player props, including Jimmy Butler, and in sort of you got to consider. I'm a narrative street guy every once in a while anyway. I don't all of my bets don't sort of go through that prism, but it is something I like to pay attention to. And Jimmy Butler, for him, there's a little bit of a revenge narrative, right? I mean, he's got Thibodeau and Towns on the other side. Things were rocky when he played with and for those guys in Minnesota. And so, he's going to be looking to show out. I absolutely would go over on basically all things Jimmy Butler. Points prop, points, rebounds, assists, maybe points, assists. Like, I would just look to the overs on Jimmy Butler, because I do think that if Miami wins this game, or even keeps this game close for that matter, Butler's going to have an awful lot to do with it. I think he's going to have a solid game. I also like the over in this one, which when I bet it, I think it was 214.5, maybe 215. Still in that general vicinity. Knicks have been playing, and it's not always been because of the Knicks. Sometimes it's been faulty defense, but the Knicks have been playing some high-scoring games right now. And, the Heat have been living right around that total pretty frequently early on in the season too. Now, you could argue these teams, they're going to get physical, slow each other down. It's going to lead to a game that's like, 98 to 93, and that could be. And you'll come obviously well below that over, but I think it's going to be paced up a little bit. I think the threes are going to be falling. I think you're going to get a lot of second chance points at the basket. I'm very comfortable looking upwards of, 217 to 220 in that range if it goes up.
All right, looking at the up and over, and that I agree with you. I mean, Miami has kind of switched the way they're going about things here, and the threes are certainly flying, and a lot of crashing of the boards here tonight. I still worry about that. Man, that depth of the Heat, for the Knicks is going to be interesting to see how this unfolds as the season progresses. But, Adam, appreciate it as always. Enjoy the games. CT Bets, Kenny White joining us next here on The Grid.
It's a new era in CFP to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst player screen I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. See, here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
They lost in Neyland to Tennessee, 24-17. Again, and look, that puts Alabama in a very tough spot. I was looking at the SEC standings just before. They've got 2 losses now in conference because they lost that Vandy game.
They're still one of the top-ranked teams in the country when they lose. Everyone else drops like a brick when they lose, except for Alabama.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in GameTime Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you stopping by as we get ready for week 10 of the college football season. Can you believe it? That must mean all the fellas are back in the saddle again. CT Bets, Chris Thurston in the house, as well as the Wizard, Mr. Kenny White, ready to roll. Let's talk some college football. Week 10 here, fellas. I'm still having a hard time getting over that. And CT, kick us off here. A big ACC battle coming up this weekend. A couple of ranked teams. SMU taking on Pitt. SMU laying about a touchdown here. Every time I turn around, people are like, oh, Pitt blows. Somebody's got to beat them. Does SMU beat them? Because nobody's beaten them yet here, CT.
Yeah, I don't think Pitt blows, but I do think the Mustangs get the job done here, Joe. And I kind of like how this game kind of lines up for the Mustangs, right? You got Pitt coming off that blowout, quote unquote blowout win on the big stage, national TV, and you get the Mustangs. They barely got a win over Duke in OT. Pitt, as we know, undefeated, riding high, but I think it was more Cuse beating themselves and McCord turning the ball over than it was Pitt being elite. Cuse actually outgained Pitt in that game. I think SMU is going to take care of business here, and they're not going to hand the game over to Cuse or to Pitt like Cuse did. And that was SMU's 3rd straight road game. That's not easy in college football. They found a way to get it done regardless. Homecoming game here. Fireworks are going to be on display. Kevin Jennings looks like he's going to go. He practiced in full today. All of a sudden, their one loss to BYU doesn't look so bad anymore. SMU -7.
Got to go -7 here. I think SMU gets it done. I'm with you there, CT. How about it, though, Kenny? Shocker here. Another week, another Indiana win and cover. I'm getting pretty sick and tired of saying that, but that's all they seem to do is win games and cover. Kenny, are we missing? This was a team that was 3-24 straight up in the Big Ten Conference over the last 3 years. What a difference a coach makes. But they got Michigan State. What are we doing in this one?
Yeah, how good was James Madison? He brought a bunch of players in from James Madison, and they're still winning with the guys that he left there. So
Kurt Cincinnati's a really good recruiter and a really good football coach. But you know what? Sooner or later, the Hoosiers have to be reading the press clippings. And if they're going to, I would think this is the game we could have a letdown from them. They beat Nebraska, destroyed Nebraska because they won the turnover battle. And then they beat Washington last week. They're just having a great year. But sooner or later, they have to have a slip up. They play Michigan next. I know Michigan hasn't been Michigan this year, but it's still the factor that it is Michigan. So Michigan State, Jonathan Smith is a Chris Peterson protege. He was at Boise with him. He was at Washington with him, and he did a great job at Oregon State. I think he's going to do a great job at Michigan State. His team has played their best 2 games the last 2 weeks against Iowa and Michigan. I think this is a closer game than people think. I think it's a field goal game at the end.
Ooh, keeping it close there, Michigan State. Wouldn't be the first time Jonathan Smith teams have done that, for sure. CT, got another one coming up here in the ACC. Virginia, how disappointing is Virginia Tech been? Taking on Syracuse this week. I just think so many returners. They had Drones, the quarterback. I just expected more from them. It hasn't been great, but they are a short favorite here against Q's. Who do you like?
Yeah, I've been touting Kyle McCord all year, Joe, as you know, and he was off to an excellent start. He's been the key piece for Cuse ripping off wins, and last week you would have thought McCord played for Pitt, right? He threw 5 picks, 3 of them were pick sixes. I think he's going to rebound Saturday versus Vatek, whose secondary is very beatable. The Hokies they got off to a rough start there, but they have ripped off 3 straight wins. After the controversial loss to the Canes, and Drones has been playing better, right? Another key piece for them has been the running back too, and he was walking around in a boot after their win last week. I hear he's probable. I would assume he's nowhere near 100%, probably pretty fragile. Houston, they've owned Tech in their last 2 games in the Dome. I think McCord rebounds here. Now, what we saw last week isn't what McCord's all about. This is homecoming for Houston. I think this number is a little too high for Vatek to be laying on the road here. So we're going to back Fran Brown's squad here. We're grabbing the 4. Look for Cuse to get the job done and might win this game outright.
All right, liking Cuse to get it done. All right, Kenny, this team is dead to me, so I'll let you talk about Oklahoma State as they're getting ready to take on Arizona State. And I can't honestly remember. They may go off as an underdog here in Stillwater, and I can't remember the last time that happened against this kind of team anyway. But what do you think happens here in Stillwater?
Hey, I think there's still life, and there's got to be fight in this Cowboy team. The 18-year streak of bowl games has to be talked about. They have to have pride. I know they do. I know one thing. I've got a coaching advantage taking Oklahoma State. Plus points at home. Mike Gundy's the better coach. He's better than Kenny Dillingham. Dillingham's done a nice job this year. But Oklahoma State's played one of the top 5 schedules in all of college football, and they were close. They have just lost the turnover battle. They've lost it in 3 of the last 4 games, and that's why they're losing football games. If they can turn that trend around in this game, I really think this team's going to come out. The line went up because Sam Levitt's playing, and Ollie Gordon is questionable. But I think Gordon's playing. I think this offense will be just fine. Alan Bowman, just take care of the football. You have the better team. You are the better team. I got to believe the early look-ahead line in this game had to be at least 10 for Oklahoma State to begin the year. I still make them a 3-point favorite here, Joe. I think we're going to get a W. I got a W with them 2 weeks ago at BYU in a game they should have won as well.
There's a lot of those. 9-2 straight up as a home underdog in the Big 12 since 2015. Looking to get another one here against Arizona State and CT. The game everyone's going to be tuned into, noon kickoff, Happy Valley, Penn State taking on Ohio State. Who was quarterback, or actually who was president last time Penn State beat Ohio State? Truman? I don't even know how far you got to go back. Penn State refuses to beat Ohio State. Why is this going to be any different?
Yeah, everybody wants to bash Ryan Day and say he can't beat good teams, win big ones. I disagree. I think we're going to see that Saturday in State College. And yeah, the Buckeyes, they were caught sleepwalking last week versus Nebraska, but I think it's important to point out that turn it up. they can, right? They scored in 4 plays. They retake the lead. They get to stop it, and they win Saturday, when it counted. Drew Aller, I think he's going to be out, starting quarterback for Penn State. The kid Bo, who came in, he did a great job filling in. And Penn State had a great second half. He likes to run. I think the Buckeyes D-line will be able to stop him, make some plays. What the key piece to the game is the tight end Tyler Warren. He's a weapon for Penn State. And Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator. Joe, you know him very well. He's the ex-offensive coordinator for your Pokes. He's going to make adjustments, and I would assume he's going to bring a safety over the top, double him. Ohio State, most talented team in the country. I know this is probably a square play here. Still call me CT Square. Don't care. Franklin 1-9 all time versus the Buckeyes, and he goes to 1-10 on Saturday. Not sure if you guys saw Will Howard's presser the other day, but his exact quote was, I grew up a Penn State fan. I wanted to go to Penn State my whole life. They didn't think I was good enough. I guess we'll see on Saturday if I was good enough or not.
All right, and Kenny, quick 30 seconds. Iowa, we're backing them against Wisconsin.
Yeah, Kurt Ferentz does a great job at home. 87-66 ATS at home. I think he gets it done once again. He beat Luke Fickell last year 15-6. I think he wins this game by a touchdown.
Yeah, just when you thought Wisconsin turned a corner, bleh, they throw up all over themselves at Camp Randall. Way to go, Luke Fickell. Impressive stuff. All right, you two, don't go anywhere. That's week 10 of the college football season. We have week 9 of the NFL season coming up next. We'll talk about it here on the Grid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst player screen I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. See, here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
They lost in Neyland to Tennessee, 24-17. Again, and look, that puts Alabama in a very tough spot. I was looking at the SEC standings just before. They've got 2 losses now in conference because they lost that Vandy game.
They're still one of the top-ranked teams in the country when they lose. Everyone else drops like a brick when they lose, except for Alabama.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. Game Time Decisions here on this final Wednesday of October, if you can believe that. Week number 9 of the NFL season is here. Starts tomorrow night with, the Jets. Sorry, it was a little reflux there every time I say that Jets name. But before we get to some of the plays you guys like this week, CT, we were just talking off air. Kenny had mentioned Iowa Ferentz at home. against Wisconsin. Now, I know you're a guy, when we brought you on before the season started, you loved Iowa. We bet every year Iowa team total over. It's always the most ridiculous number, 7.5 wins. You like them to get another one towards that goal here against Wisconsin?
I do. I totally agree with Kenny, the Wizard of Odds here. The backup Sullivan, he comes in last week, does a great job under center for the Hawkeyes. For Cade McNamara, he fits the Hawkeye system perfectly, right? And he's more of a running style quarterback. The Hawkeyes defense also had their best game of the year. And Wisconsin, they really struggled when Penn State backup, when the kid Bo came in, who's a running quarterback. That gave the Badgers problems. Iowa's going to be able to find holes, shred this Badgers D. You know, they're going to be without the freshman wideout, Reese Van Der Zee, but this game's going to be won on the ground here. So I totally am with Kenny here. I made this game closer to 6. A diehard fan for the Hawkeyes tweeted out that for every false start on Wisconsin, he's going to donate $10 to the Children's Hospital. Now people are saying they're going to do the same. It's up to $100 every false start. So it's going to be loud there in Kinnick. Iowa 18-1 their last 19 games in November. So we'll play on the Hawkeyes here with Kenny.
Yeah, they're tough to go against at home, and I just don't get Luke Fickell in Wisconsin. My goodness. All right, NFL. Kenny, let's start it off with, the game of the week here. This is just, phenomenal, man. Tennessee taking on New England. How in the hell is Tennessee a favorite here, Kenny? Explain this to me. What are you looking at in this one?
Yeah, I'm looking at the total, Joe, because you're right. This is a horrible game. Two bad teams. And they're in the bottom 5. These are 2 bottom 5 football teams, and it's because their offenses are both bottom 5. Tennessee has had to work defense all week. They've given up 86 points the last 2 weeks. So I know the defense has been under pressure to play well, but that was against the Bills and Lions. They're not facing those offenses. They're facing the Patriots, who I've got ranked 30th offensively in the NFL, and the same thing goes the other side. The Patriots defense should be able to handle ex-Oklahoma State quarterback Mason Rudolph, who I think he's a better quarterback than Will Levis, but he really hasn't played that well so far this year. 2 touchdowns, 3 INTs the last 2 games. 38, way too many points for these 2 bad teams. They'll move the ball between the 20s, but they will struggle in the red zone.
Yeah, Kenny, I would venture to say they could play this game twice and not get the 38 points. CT, speaking of inept, what in the hell are you thinking here? Thursday night football, the Jets at home taking on Houston. Houston's got all sorts of issues, though. We just learned Diggs is out for the year now. Still no Nico Collins. Not the same team on the road as they are at home. You like the Jets?
Yeah, I know I hate myself for this one, and I know it's tough to pull the trigger on them. They've been an absolute disaster. And as embarrassing as it was for them, losing to the Pats as 7-point favorites, it's still a divisional loss, and the Patriots have dominated them, owned them for years. So Rodgers, he still didn't throw a pick. Breece Hall kind of has a decent game on the ground, and they held the pass to 260 yards. And I think this is more of a tough spot for the Texans, who they're coming off a division game themselves, which they didn't look particularly all that great. Now they have to travel to New York, short week for both, obviously, but they have the Lions on deck, and both the Texans' losses have come on the road. And now Texans offense, like you said, Joe, which hasn't looked all that great this year. They're going to be without their top 2 wideouts, Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs. Diggs out for the year. This Jets team, they have the weapons to put up points, and I think Rodgers is going to put an emphasis on that this week, even though this is the end is very, very near, as we could see. This is a pros versus Joes type game here. I'm riding with the gang green. One more shot, Jets -2.
Oh, it's just there will be no lower point to bet on the Jets than right now, so you might as well take them if you're going to take them. Kenny White, listen, they were so excited about Flacco being quarterback that they actually flexed this game to Sunday night. So now we got a Sunday night game with Minnesota and Indy. Are you wearing a Flacco jersey? What are we doing in this game?
Yeah, I'm taking the points, Joe. The Colts, I think the right move here. I think Flacco's the better quarterback. He's going to take care of the football. He can move the team down the field. They've won 4 of their last 6 games. They are playing much better football. I have these two teams rated identically, a 99.5 rating, but their performance rating on the year, the Colts actually have graded out to a 101, the Vikings a 100.5. But over the last 4 games, Minnesota Vikings have not been that good. They've rated out to a 98 for me. So I think the Vikings should be the favorite, but I don't think they should be 5.5. And that's a key number. 3 is still a key number. It does fall 15% of the time. Give me the plus 5.5.
Ooh, taking the 5.5. All right, Kenny, let me come back to you for one other game here. I don't Seattle. Which Seattle team shows up, and are the Rams a dangerous team now that they are finally healthy and have everyone available to them?
I guess that's public perception that they are, but I don't think they're that good. I had them in the bottom 5 to start the year. Their talent just isn't there. They got rid of players last year. They did overachieve last year, but again, they really didn't bring anybody in to make this team any better this year. So I just don't see them being that good. I have them a 98.5 rating. The Seattle Seahawks, I have a 102, 2 points better than the average team. So I got a 3.5 point edge in the game for Seattle and home field. I think they win by 6.
Ooh, all right. Well, Seattle better get it going. They got to start winning some games sooner rather than later. Listen, gentlemen, by the time we talk again next week, Doug Peterson will be fired. Dave Aranda will be on his way to getting another contract at Baylor. And the 3 of us are going to have to get drunk because we're not going to believe any of it. So, Kenny White, always a pleasure, brother. CT, see you guys again. Game Time Decisions will be back. Closing it out next here on the Grid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was clicking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Did they talk about the play they ran at the end of the game when it was the worst player screen I've ever seen in the history of basketball? No. So here's what you got to do, Sherwood. I respect you. You're fantastic. But damn it, don't blame the officials. When you have a game like this that close, there's about 100 or 1,000 different things you could have done differently that could have won you the game.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
They lost in Neyland to Tennessee, 24-17. Again, and look, that puts Alabama in a very tough spot. I was looking at the SEC standings just before. They've got 2 losses now in conference because they lost that Vandy game.
They're still one of the top-ranked teams in the country when they lose. Everyone else drops like a brick when they lose, except for Alabama.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri as we get ready to close out this edition. Say goodbye to October because November is just around the corner. The question on everyone's mind here tonight is, will we or won't we have more baseball to talk about? Well, Scotty Wetzel coming up here with the gang for In-Game Live. First pitch from the Bronx, Scotty. The all-important elimination game. They say it's the hardest game of any to win. Just ask the Edmonton or the Florida Panthers not too long ago. They had a hell of a time trying to close out the Panthers down or Edmonton down 3-0. Can we get this thing back to L.A. here tonight? What do you think we're going to get?
Yeah, that's what everyone seems to think, right? We were joking in between breaks. You know, everyone thought the Yankees were going to get swept, then they win one game, and now everyone says, okay, maybe this thing can go back to Los Angeles, and who knows, maybe the Yankees win. It would be fitting with Dave Roberts as the manager of the Dodgers, since he was part of that Red Sox 3-down comeback many moons ago. But I'm going to say yes, Joe, but the whole world's on the Stankies tonight. This is more of a black cloud just to have them actually lose, you know, because nobody's rooting for the Yankees. As difficult it is sometimes to root for the Dodgers, no one's rooting for the Yankees. So let's say yes. Give me the Yankees minus the 140, 142, depending on where you do your shopping. You figure Garrett Cole, if he pitched well in Los Angeles, you would think he'd be able to pitch well here in New York, right? So let's go with the Yanks today. Got a couple of decent props. How about Freddie Freeman to hit a home run, right? You don't have to hit me over the head 7 times. I mean, he's got a home run in 6 straight World Series games. They're giving us 450. Why not? But correlation prop. I know this is goofy, Joe, but you're getting plus money on this on FanDuel. First pitch to Freddie Freeman, ball, plus 115, 120 odds. And what's so weird about that, Scott? Think about it. The guy's got 5 zillion home runs, right? I mean, if they throw a strike down the middle in the first inning like they did last night, and the guy hits another home run, I mean, they'll be booing the team out of the stadium. So I'm thinking Garrett Cole's got to pitch wisely, right? So first pitch, ball, plus odds. I'll take it. You know, like I said, plus odds, why not? Even though it's a goofy bet.
I would expect nothing less than absolute craziness from you, Scotty Wetzel. Only you would search out a first pitch ball prop for Freddie Freeman here tonight. I would expect nothing different. Talk to me about the NBA tonight. Loaded slate you guys are going to be covering. We got a bunch of games underway, but you're going to head out west for a rematch, which is apparently all New Orleans plays. They keep playing these back-to-back games against teams. Portland now Golden State. They got lit up in the second half last night. What do we get tonight?
Yeah, what a joke that is. Listen, I fell for it. I did, you know, and you and I, we talked about this a gazillion times. Star players don't play. You play on those teams, right? But I figured both their star players weren't playing. How is New Orleans going to win? They're up 31-14, and somehow they lose the game by double digits. Amazing. Here's the key. We're not going to go to New Orleans. We're not going to go Golden State. We're going to go over. I looked it up last year. New Orleans had 4 sets of back-to-backs against the same team, Joe. The second game, they went over 4-0. So you would think they would know the team's, offense and games would be lower scoring. Not with the Pels last year. So I'm going to go over, 219, 217 in that area, depending, again, where you do your shopping in that contest. So do like that one a lot. So
I like that. I like that one too. Are you looking at Brooklyn at Memphis too? Brooklyn coming off a tough loss last night. They could have got it done. Couldn't control Denver. Taking on Memphis. What are you thinking?
Yeah, we're going to go with Brooklyn. That's a big number, right? 11.5. Let's look at here. You know, they're 1-3, but they're 3-1 against the spread. Memphis is only 1-3 against the spread. They got everyone back, from all the injuries finally, but it's going to take a little while to get together. Brooklyn being a little surprise team. No one's expected anything out of them, but you want to give me 11.5 points? That's a big number, Joe. And Memphis got a big game against Milwaukee coming up next. Maybe a little bit of a look-ahead spot. So I'll take the double digits with the Nets. Why not?
Yeah, that's a huge number, in fact. And how about on the ice? NHL tonight got a few games, including Winnipeg taking on Detroit. What do you like in this one?
Yeah, they are underway already. It is already 1-0, but I still like the under 6.5 in this game. Winnipeg gave up 6 goals. 6 last time out. I think they're going to play much, much better defensively tonight, Joe. So give me the under 6.5 Winnipeg and Detroit. You can still get that right now.
Don't go anywhere because Scotty, you'll have all sorts of bets on the Rolex Paris Masters ATP tennis tour bets there. Scotty, in-game live coming up next. Enjoy the night. Game Time Decisions.